And
hello, what's your name?
In the spirit of St. Patrick's Day, because you said you were Irish, right?
Yeah, that's what my
Or drunk.
DNA came back as.
Green liqueur with Irish whiskey, which makes me Irish today.
My heritage DNA came back as that.
It did?
It did.
All right. Well, we were hoping to have Frymark on today, but he's going to take my college entrance exam for me, try to get me into a better college. And we'll have the results next week when we do the podcast. And I didn't pay for it, just so you know.
I think
this is 100% legit.
I think Mark's off dressed like a leprechaun.
Yeah. Running around with a 4-leaf clover around his crotch.
Sure.
Oh. You're lucky.
He's at the end of the rainbow. But we do have the Pot of Gold concert going on, so he might be over there.
Pot of gold, pot of weed. What is it?
Whatever.
Right.
A pot. Green leafy substance. Grass. Okay, so today we've got April Wallace on with us, and she's going to be talking about her critical incident, and her and T are going to give their opinions on PTSD in law enforcement when it affects women, because we all know
my specialty is women.
Because your specialty is women.
Oh, damn. Wow.
This podcast always gets off on the wrong foot.
Mine is not. Mine is not.
And just so you know, April's specialty
is not women.
Not T. It's not women. It's D. Special D.
Special D, not special T.
Oh, out of control.
This is going to be a crazy ass podcast
yeah.
on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about, mainly just the stigma of women in law enforcement and what you guys are up against to begin with. Because I think you guys have it correct when you come in, because you still have emotions. In fact, we were getting ready to do a search warrant last week, and there was a female officer that I was working with, and she's new to law enforcement. She's literally got maybe a year and a half on. And we were going to arrest this 70-something-year-old woman for not taking care of her animals correctly. And here's this young millennial rookie officer who's struggling with she was literally struggling with arresting her, right? It was just a cite and release. But I could see she got emotional, and I was like, what are you so fucking emotional about? She's a bad person, needs to go to jail. And then I realized myself, I thought, oh, wait, that's the right reaction.
Yeah,
right?
because she's 70.
Well, but that's the right reaction.
What's she going to do in jail at 70?
Well, she going to jail. It's a cite release anyway, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think realistically that was the right emotion. And I kind of looked at myself and I thought, when did I lose that empathy, right? Because a shitbag's a shitbag. What do we say? Like, today's victims, tomorrow's suspect.
Yep.
And you lose it, and then you just like check out and you say, fuck it, you're going to jail. And it made me think about like this podcast for you guys and gals who are going to talk about trying to, and I'm going to be honest with everybody. There were women that I worked with that I would have much rather had with me on a backup than a man, because there's some mans out there that, well, Frank,
those mans
out there.
Those mans.
They were a fucking train wreck. They'd put themselves out of service if there was any inclination of injury or threat to their life. But anyways, without further ado, my Irish friend here.
Well, I'm gonna hit on something you said though, real quick.
Okay.
So, because knowing the podcast we were doing, I was thinking this week as I'm deciding kind of what to talk about with my incident. With women, it's a double struggle, at least for me it was, and I think for every woman I speak for in law enforcement, because we do have to have that. That is empathy is our nature. And we have a lot of different things to bring to the table that men don't necessarily have when it comes to that compassion. Not all men, don't get me wrong. But on top of having to have the female, what they want in law enforcement from females, then we also have to be just as badass and strong and capable as the men. So it's a double whammy for us, because you can't be at the bottom as a female. You gotta be up there competing with the men.
That's exactly
right. And
right.
then they expect you to bring in that female aspect of being able to empathize with people and care. And then, we do have estrogen. So when we're dealing with little kids or elderly women or men, our heart goes out a little. But yet we have to be strong like the guys. And
yeah, because guys only have, 2 modes?
Yeah.
Like
asshole and...
Yeah, asshole and bigger asshole.
Yeah.
Like
Something like
I
that.
really needed to eat, sir. Well, fuck you, 12-year-old kid, for shoplifting the steak. You're going to fucking Hooskow. That's what the way
Whereas
we
we
see
women
it.
are going to buy for the steak, pay for the steak, and
Yeah.
kids moving on.
And that's, the girl, oh, mijo, well, you need steaks. That's. But sometimes we need that balance. Sometimes I
Yes.
think we need the balance between that. And that's what, I guess that's why today's podcast is kind of important, because without that balance, like if I would have had that balance my whole career, I probably wouldn't ended up in the fucking position I was in. Feeling hollow, not being able to interact with my kids sometimes, and feeling bad, and it takes all those times later to figure out that I had it wrong for such a long time.
But think about being a mom, having 3 boys myself. We go from that mama role to coming home, having to be the badass role, and then trying to flip back and forth.
I think you guys are always mom. Like, we're not dad when we go to work. Some of us aren't dad anymore.
No, but trying to go from badass to come home and be
and be mom
a
and not
mommy
be,
and
not
and
be
have
the
some
badass.
sympathy, and it's flip flopping, like difficult.
Well, April, how do you think that affects when PTSD comes into the picture? How is it different for women than it is for men? Because I was thinking about this earlier today, and I think women have the ability to see that there's a problem and take action, whatever that action is, however small, as opposed to the men who just keep thinking that makes them weak and they just need to work through it, tough it out, get through it. So
Correct.
we're smarter in that sense, as we see the problem and we're always taking care of everybody else. So we kind of take care of ourselves a little bit quicker than I think the guys do.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. When I first got diagnosed and kind of found something was wrong, I think my PD expected me to hide it, being the first female. I think they expected me to go along with all the other guys and just kind of keep quiet.
Really?
I think they just thought that that's what was going to happen. I mean, they hadn't dealt with a female in the department who openly had, came out and said, yeah, that's what I've been diagnosed with and have it. And so, but for me, I don't know, I've been there almost 17 years. So I had a lot of good connections with people, a lot of good friendships. And I felt it was important to just be open and honest about it, because I know if I was struggling with it, others were struggling with it.
Yeah.
And so I wanted them to be able to talk to somebody. And I'll tell you, the minute I came out having this, my office door was shut more in that year than in the 4 years I was a sergeant on my department.
Wait, what do you mean you're
Shut
off?
by who?
Oh, because
people
you had
were
people
coming
in
in,
there.
pouring their hearts out, going, I don't know what to do.
Oh, gotcha.
With their own shit, you mean?
With their own shit, yeah. But it wasn't, I mean, no one would have said anything prior, you know, to anybody else. But as soon as I was open about it, it was like they could let that.
Well,
and talk.
me and Manny have talked about this before. The female on our department that we both know, that I didn't realize until I was going through it and I was not sleeping and crazy. She had to pull me aside and say, hey, I take medication, and maybe you should, here's the phone number to the doctor.
Yeah,
Maybe.
because you're fucking crazy.
But see, she never said it to anybody. She kept it secret and took care of her business and took care of herself in the way that she felt she needed to take care of. And no one knew. I certainly didn't know. But as soon as she said, I take medication, I was like, okay, where do I get some? Because I was like, no medication. I can do this. And she's like, here's the phone number. Go ahead and make that call. And I sure did.
So you felt more comfortable.
I was like, yeah.
When someone.
Oh, you're struggling. You take medication. Okay, then that made it okay for me.
Yes. That's
not,
why. That's
not
how
to
I
mention
felt.
that you guys have your own damn locker room, and there's what, 2 of you at any time in there. So I mean, we go into the locker room to cry, and there's fucking 1,000 men in there.
We don't have our own locker room.
You guys have unisex locker rooms?
Yes,
Wow.
we did.
That's
We had little like compartment, department store dressing rooms that you could go into, and then of course we had the bathroom, but it was all. This is Mike Frymark over here.
yeah. He doesn't have a mic. Well, in my department, what would have happened with the fucking joint? it's a unisex bathroom, you know. Hey, does this look swollen to you? While you walk in the bathroom.
I can see
That's
that
the
being
kind of
some
nonsense that
problems.
goes on when
Yeah.
you have unisex bathrooms.
Yeah.
You're a professional. Does this look swollen, April?
No.
So, yeah. That's not.
No,
but it is, though.
doesn't.
It's, no, it really feels swollen.
Is it more swollen than it normally
Yes.
is?
No, seriously, it's swollen. That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we and
anyways,
Mesa had our own.
That's
we're getting off
nice.
topic with swollen
Yes.
and stuff like
yeah,
that.
you are.
Well, you did it.
What about we'll talk about briefly
Okay.
about your critical incident. Now, you were a supervisor at the time, right?
Yes.
All right, but was this, you're going to talk about, because you had 2 of them, right?
Yes.
You want to talk about one specific or both in general?
Well, I'll tell you the one that was the worst. How's that?
Sounds good
For
to
me.
Yeah,
That
sounds good.
affected me the most. I can't say the worst. They're both crappy.
Wait, give us some deets. How long were you on before you were a supervisor? How
I-
fast do things work over there on that side of town?
Well, for me, not well. I shouldn't say for me, not fast. It was a choice. I was on the road 12 years before, but I had done. Okay, let me back up. I had done training department. I had done detectives. I had done
FTO?
Yep.
Were you an FTO?
FTO. I'm trying to think of the other things. While pregnant, I had worked up in major crimes for ag assaults and homicides. So I had worked all over the department. But to me, again, this going back to the female thing, I needed to make sure that I knew my shit before I tested first. As a
Yeah,
sergeant.
because you're a seasoned patrol person at that
Correct.
point. You're a good supervisor.
But you
I
see
mean,
these
how
guys
many
who
people
will
that
test with
promote
3
in a
years
year,
on.
3 years, or whatever? Yeah.
Correct. And as a female, I felt that I needed that more experience so that I had more respect and more.
Oh,
You know.
See, I've never thought about it like
Yeah.
that, but that
Again,
makes sense.
Again, common sense. See, we don't have that.
Yeah.
We have those guys that want to hide, and so I'll be a
Well,
sergeant. and
as a
then
female, you
lieutenant.
know you're going to be questioned.
Right.
Can I lead a group of guys? My first group of guys was known as the testosterone squad. And they're like, hey, how do you feel going to that squad? I was like, fuck.
They just kind of told you what they were going to do?
No, you know what? I'll tell you what. It was at first, because no one really knows what kind of supervisor you're going to be.
Right.
And you kind of have to figure it out as you go. You kind of know what you want to be like. But so I got on there, and I'll tell you, our first night was a nice little fight at Westgate. And
Which is a huge plaza for
yes,
that use that
yes,
don't
for
know.
us it's a huge
Cardinal Stadium's
Cardinal
right there.
Yep, the hockey arena's there. All kinds of live venue stuff is there. It was a huge fight there, and so after that, those guys on my squad took me under and treated me like Mama Bear, and I couldn't even get involved in stuff or get yelled at by a suspect, and they were on them. They were good. They were good to
Really?
me. Yeah. So
That means you must have handled your shit.
I did. I think I did. So
Because she had 12 years of fucking experience.
Exactly,
She knew
but
what
that's
the
what
hell she
I-
was doing.
Right.
I didn't go in there with 3 years on, not knowing what the hell I was doing
Right.
or worried. And I also knew that I wasn't going to go in there looking like no chicken shit. You know, I knew I had to handle my stuff with a testosterone squad. And each one of those guys were absolutely awesome. So
back to the critical
back to my
incident.
critical incident. So 12 years on the street, 4 years as a sergeant. One night I have my mother-in-law riding with me, and we are on a little traffic stop, whatever, with another officer. And one of our hot calls, emergency calls, comes out of a subject shot at a bar at 59th Avenue and Greenway. As I headed up with my mother-in-law, I decided to take 51st Avenue because he was at 59th. And the last thing we had gotten prior to me taking it up, was was he had fled on his Harley. And so I had the other unit that was with us take 43rd, you know, so we were kind of,
Paralleling.
parallel and see where he was at. And sure as hell enough, if he doesn't come southbound right in front of me,
Because you got your mom-in-law
because I have my
in the
mother-in-law.
car.
Of course.
That's the shit that happens.
Yep.
And let me tell you, she rode with me a lot.
Oh, my God.
A lot. She loved to ride with me. And it was so much to the point where she found black pants that had the pockets, would wear
Oh, yeah.
black
So she was like
shoes.
mom-in-law explorer.
black shirt. I was like, Lordy.
Yo, this is awesome.
Oh,
And now, prior to this,
So-
had she been on any really crucial, high priority calls that really scared the shit into her?
so prior to this, yes, we had responded to a family fight at an apartment complex. And it was subject with a gun, looking for boyfriend and girlfriend, cheating on girl, that kind of crap. So told her to stay in the car because subject with a gun. And next thing you know, we find the suspect, and he's talking to the boyfriend and his girlfriend, so her new boyfriend and girlfriend. And as we approach, he executes.
Oh.
So all you hear is, as we're approaching, you hear he shoots him in the head, dead, boop, hits her in the neck, and she drops. And of course, we're able to take him to custody. But she's sitting in the car, and all she hears is 2 shots fired.
Oh.
And so she's like,
Is this the same? I got lost because
It's not the same critical
no,
incident.
he had asked if she had
Sorry.
been on anything in her.
We went off on a tangent. All right, skip that one. That's a juicy call. We'll save it for later. Not to fuck with the people
this is
listening.
not your critical incident.
No.
Oh
well,
my God.
I'll tell you, this was a good one.
Right.
I mean, it all leads to the shit we see and deal with. Nothing like walking up to somebody going, "Hey, let me see your hands." Pop in the head. So you're like, "Whoa, dude, serious."
That's why it could be.
Yeah, exactly.
Very well could have been.
It could be, and it was, and did.
So back to the guy on the Harley.
So back to the guy on the Harley. So he's fleeing. And I'll tell you what's weird is a few years back, I had an incident where I got hit in the intersection of 51st and Cactus.
Okay.
I was chasing some suspects, lights and sirens. 51st Avenue and Cactus, I get hit. T-boned. Well, the same exact spot I found... Oh. Same exact spot I saw the Harley is where I saw these suspects when I was chasing after them. And so I make a U-turn in the same exact damn spot and go after this Harley. And he stops his Harley in the middle of the intersection, exactly where I had been T-boned.
Oh,
shit. Right
shit.
there. That's
crazy?
not a fucking coincidence. That's the kind of shit that happens
crazy.
to us, though.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and I didn't realize it until afterwards, looking back on photos. I mean, my vehicle was in the same damn lane, everything. I was
Wow.
like, what the hell? So anyways, so he forces the stop at 51st and Cactus, immediately gets off his Harley, draws down. And I'll tell you what, when I run lights and sirens, I'm always the seatbelter.
Yeah.
Can't recall how the hell I got out of my car. Don't even know if I had my seatbelt on at the time.
Oh, you did. You just popped that
Isn't
motherfucker
that
real
crazy?
quick. Yeah.
Like, I think about that all the time. Like, how did I get out of there so fast? Because he stopped that bike and spun around and drew, and game was on.
Yeah.
So this was besides my mother-in-law in the car, solo incident. Just me and him, and he is tearing up the front of my car.
Just lit you up right there, huh?
Lit it up. I mean, I didn't even let me pop, And
So now you're out the driver's side, right?
I'm out the
just
driver's side.
The way you're trained.
And I'm starting to back towards the trunk of my vehicle to get cover because we're in the middle of an intersection.
Right.
The only thing else in the intersection was a big box truck that was headed northbound over on the side, and that dude took off.
Oh, I'm sure they all took off from that intersection. Your poor
Yeah.
mom-in-law.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah. And at this point, so I don't even know what's going on with my mother-in-law. Don't know where she's at. Besides,
Still in the car.
correct, but
Yeah.
he shot up the front of my vehicle,
Okay.
so I don't know if she's been hit or not.
Oh gosh.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
So little did I know, I found out later, he was a military vet coming back with PTSD himself. And he was very well trained. Oh, I love it. I love it, Mark.
Is it time for another drink?
It is time for another drink.
It's time for another
It is-
drink. You've got the Mater D coming. Is that who you've got? Who is that? Hey, it's
Look at
Mark
that.
Frymark.
Look
You
at
got me fine
that.
last.
Look at that.
Oh,
You got me fine last.
Here, I'll-
Myself a
I'll
nice
switch
Jameson.
you.
I'm a
Thank
good
you.
driver.
Thank
Oh, this
you.
is great. And
I
he
needed
shows
that.
up with
I needed that.
this is
Hold on,
great.
let me tell you how you did.
What are you tipping him? Is it good?
We're driving home.
Oh, okay. It's good.
Yeah, it's good. You did good, buddy.
Oh, man.
You did good.
You done good.
Martin does everything. He writes
done
books and
well.
he, and
Get
he
out of
pours
there, you
drinks.
little leprechaun.
You leprechaun. You're in the middle of my
Okay,
seat.
so
So
shots fired.
shots fired. So dude starts to go into his military training, and he starts to flank me on the driver's side
While firing.
while firing. He shot a total of 11 rounds at me. I don't know how many were in my vehicle, front of my vehicle, but so anyway, so we're in the middle of this wonderful firefight, and the radiator smoke just starts to fill up the air, so I can see nothing. I've completely lost all sight of him. And now I'm like in panic mode because shit,
That's the
we're
shit night
in the
terrors
middle.
are made out of right
Yeah.
there.
And I'll tell you this, I do remember being on. So as I went to the back of my vehicle, he kept flanking around me. And so I was now at the side of my vehicle, the back side. And I remember thinking, dude wants to kill me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, but here's why I
You didn't figure that out with the first 10 rounds.
No. Well, let me think about this. How many times have we come across people who just do a quick shot just to get, they just shoot because they want to run.
Right.
And they want to get the hell out of Dodge. They're not really trying to kill you. They could care less if the bullet hits you.
Right.
But they're throwing something down so that they can
get out.
Exactly.
Right.
That was not the case in this.
Yeah.
Dude was ready to straight up flank all the way around me and kill me.
So what happens then?
So then I'm sitting there, and I remember telling myself, he's going to kill me. And no, I got 3 kids. I got to go home. He's got to die, not me. And so
It's a good mental state right there.
yeah, it was weird what really popped in my mind. And so radiator smoke goes up, and that's when I start getting a little excuse me.
No excuse. Go on.
So I lose him, and then my mother-in-law pops in my mind.
Ugh.
And I'll tell you, if it wasn't for her, don't get me wrong, a little strange, but if it wasn't for her, I think my tunnel vision would have been
Worse?
yeah, pretty bad. But I had so much to think about that I didn't have time for tunnel vision. So I go over to the passenger door, not knowing if I'm going to open it up, she's going to fall out, not knowing what. So sure enough, I open the door and she pops out. I was like, okay, mom's alive. So I told her, I said, I lost him. And as I'm taking her to the back of my car,
Oh, Jesus.
she says he went back to his bike.
Oh,
she
so
was able
She
to
never
see
lost
him.
sight of that motherfucker.
Well, I think it's different for those people. It's different for the civilians that
She's a good little explorer. She followed that
her
suspect
little black
all the way
pants
around
were
there.
so
Shit.
helpful in this incident.
She perceived no threat whatsoever.
Thank goodness.
She's not shooting at me.
Yes, because what he was doing was going to flank me on the other side.
Oh.
And I was like, mother. So, but here's my mother-in-law, and I could
Jesus.
squeeze her little neck for this one. So I get her to back. She's like, he went to the front of the car. He's at the front of his bike. And so I said, run. And she's like, run?
Oh,
Do you think right now is the time
To be questioning
questioning you.
to question me?
She's older than you and she knows better.
Yeah, she knows better. I'm like, run. And so she finally runs to this little parking lot and lays down.
Still safe.
Whatever, she's safe. So at that time, I'm at the back of my car. I look out, and sure as hell enough, he's crouched down behind the front of his wheel. And I was like, front sight.
Front sight focus.
Stuff just
That's all you
popped
got to think
in
about
your
right
mind.
there. Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't know if I've hit him yet. I don't think I have.
So you
I don't
had
know.
fired how many by that time? Do you remember?
Yeah, because I fired a total of 6. No, let me think, 8.
Okay.
5 in his bike, 1 in him, and 2 flyers.
Right on. So you
That's
gave
what
it
I
to the
had.
bike real good and him real good.
Oh, I busted that bike.
Yeah.
So what I didn't tell you about the bike, though, is because I tore up the bike, like he tore up the front of my car, I tore up his bike. Well, I had hit the throttle cord.
He couldn't go anywhere.
Oh,
Well,
no.
not
Because you know what happens to you at a throttle cord.
No, I don't know that.
full
Yeah,
throttle on a
motherfucker
Harley.
goes full throttle.
Oh.
So the whole time, it is full throttle Harley. Dispatch can't hear me. Nobody can hear me.
Do you remember it being loud? Do you remember that being loud? Or was your
No.
hearing that?
I remember them saying, 10-9, I can't copy you.
You were getting pissed off
Jesus.
probably.
Yes, but it was so fast and everything was going on so quickly that I didn't even, I put out my call and I heard units coming. I was good to go.
So you had that whole auditory exclusion. It wasn't overly loud.
Nope, not at all. So anyways, so back up, I get back and I remind myself front sight. I take a shot. I come back into the back of my car, the trunk area. Training is just hitting me. It's hitting good.
Well, good.
I know, and I'm amazed.
Right there. 12 years of experience in
Exactly.
patrol, not fucking anything up.
Correct. That's true. So I do attack reload. Thank you.
Dang,
Great.
girl.
Is that
This is
I was
so
impressed with
fucking
myself right there.
awesome.
You
I was very
are the
impressed with myself.
shit.
Didn't realize at the time,
that you did
but
that.
it was one of those where low in the gunfight.
Oh, yeah.
How many times you heard that? Low in the
Yeah.
gunfight.
Step to
Yeah.
left or right. Reload.
Yeah.
So I had the lull, I had the cover. Boop, boop, boop. I step back out. Dude's already on the ground.
Oh.
Right, ended
That's
that
what I
problem
said.
real quick.
Oh,
You like,
Target in turn.
that ain't good enough.
I'm gonna just tell you. Speaking of target didn't turn, this is a little embarrassing, but I know Mark talked about something embarrassing last week, so I'm going to just say it.
Uh-oh. Do it.
I am. So there was a point where we had our gun battle going on, and I was on the side, passenger side of the car, and he was flanking this way over here, and this was right before the radiator smoke filled it up. Dude, I went ghetto style.
Sideways. You shot sideways?
Over my head.
Oh,
I think those were my 2 flyers.
probably.
I'm going to guess, yes.
Hey, motherfuckers are shooting at you. You're shooting back.
And I thought
all
to
bets
myself
are
later,
off.
those targets that turn, they don't shoot back.
Yeah.
They can turn all they want. But when you start throwing bullets back down at me,
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
Gangster told me one time,
Whoa!
bullets hurt.
What?
Gangster told me one time, bullets hurt.
I can imagine.
Yeah. But
And it was one of those where I was like, holy shit, what's going on? You know?
I thought you were going to say you peed a little.
No, I didn't pee.
All right.
that's
didn't
standard.
piddle, didn't
I think
pee.
that's standard.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Especially if you didn't empty your bladder before the critical incident,
would've
because
peed
then it's
myself.
gonna fucking,
Yeah.
No,
you know.
No, it's not
But
standard.
so
No.
now you've got the suspect down. All that's done. So
Yeah.
how does it transition for you? I know we had talked to Mark and a couple of the people in the last podcast about how quickly did that set in. Dave talks about the loop that goes on in the Ledesma shooting that he just couldn't get out of his head. Did you get the same stuff? What happened after that? Like,
So I had my week off that they give you. And because I didn't know about PTSD, I never heard of that stuff, you know. I mean, besides military, I had my week off and I went back to work, just like you're supposed to, right? Doctor clears you.
were you exhibiting anything? Like, were you sleeping okay? Appetite? Was everything pretty normal?
As far as I could remember.
Yeah, there's
I'll be
that
honest with you.
memory
Yeah,
thing again.
yeah, I don't remember. But I'll tell you when it hit me. Was my second one. So year to date, March 26th is my first one. That week, my husband wanted me to take off, and I said absolutely not, because I'll tell you what, I did have issues, because that entire year, I couldn't engage. I couldn't engage in a traffic stop. I couldn't engage in anything in the dark. Mind you, I was working graveyards. So now I was starting to feel like a coward.
Did you?
You
Was
didn't
it?
trust yourself.
I was afraid.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
You
So
were
was it?
I was afraid of everything. The dark, movement, everything I saw
Yep.
was a gun.
Yep.
I saw some guy grabbing bicycle handlebars out of the back of his truck, like this. And the first thing I thought was
Shotgun.
shotgun, rifle.
Yeah.
And I was getting ready, and then I saw there, I was like, you're getting ready to look like an idiot.
So you're hyper vigilant.
Oh.
You're okay. So, you said you were scared.
It's
Oh,
funny
yeah.
how she says she doesn't. There's nothing.
Nothing
and then
happened.
She starts, And then she starts naming off every motherfucking.
But I couldn't remember stuff that happened at home.
Oh.
Like, I can't remember my sleep stuff, but at work is where I was struggling. Because I just couldn't engage. Like I said, I was afraid. There was no
Did you
doubt.
think you had done something wrong on that shooting?
I was
Is
pissed.
that why?
So I had one officer tell me. So in that shooting, just so you guys know, the media reports it as I killed him.
But you didn't.
Truth of the matter is, I shot him. I did get my one bullet in him. It was in the abdomen, chest area. But I think after that, and him hearing the sirens, and he was already probably suicidal with his own PTSD, he took a shot to the head.
Oh.
So I struggled with that really bad. And I had an officer come up to me and say, you know, doesn't that make you feel better? You didn't take his life. Absolutely not. I failed to do my job.
Well,
Well, you
but
almost
what-
center
but
punched
wait,
him.
What
I
would have-
struggled with that, though. It
You
was
failed
my
to
job.
do what? You wanted to be
To
able
stop
to
the
kill
threat?
it?
To stop the threat?
Well,
Was that what
he
your
stopped
job
his
would have
own
been?
threat.
Right.
Well, I didn't do it.
So he took that from you.
That's what I felt like initially. It was one of those because the question was so weird when he asked it. He goes, "Doesn't that make you feel better? He did it and you didn't have to." And I'm like, "No, that means I failed at what I was supposed to do. My job was to stop him, not to him to stop himself."
You felt cheated, like you didn't get to finish the job, right?
I think so. I felt. I don't know if I felt cheated. I felt,
Powerless.
yeah, like I wasn't good enough.
Did you have shame about that?
You know, yes. And I'll tell you because I had some stuff from my past, from growing up, where I never felt good enough. And so when that happened, it all came back as you weren't good enough to get the job done. And so that was what I spent a lot of time in counseling with my PTSD is trying to tell myself you are good enough. You did attack reload. You thought about
did
front
amazing.
sight.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
But in my mind, I wasn't good enough because I didn't finish the job.
Now, did this to extend out just a little bit? Did this play into your gender? Like you weren't good enough because you were female, or just not good enough?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely as a female, because again, it goes back to we always have to be a little bit above what the guys are doing.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, think about it.
Because
How many?
then it's a doubt in the men's mind
Thank you.
that she couldn't finish it.
Well, and think about how often do they Monday morning quarterback the
Oh,
men?
a million times.
So can you imagine what they're doing to a female?
Oh yeah.
So did anyone, up until this time, for that amount of time that you were a cop, 13, 14 years by this time, had anyone questioned you because you were female? Had anyone ever used that against you in some way?
I will tell you, here's an incident that probably brought all this on. I used to be a detention officer at Glendale PD. Excuse me, I'm saying the name. Beep. I was a detention officer there prior to hitting the streets.
Okay.
And I remember there was a fight, and I went to go help this officer. And he says, "Get," and he yells the name of another detention officer, a male.
Oh hell no.
And I was like, "What's going on?" I go, "What do you need? What do you need?" He goes, "Go get." And he's yelling to go get this other officer. And I go, well, "Okay, it's an officer telling me what to do.
Right.
Hey, he needs you." So the officer goes right in. He's like, "Help me out." You need him to help him in the fight. But I was standing right there.
So he didn't think that you'd be able to help him.
Yeah.
You would not
He
be
had
a
the
help,
female
you would be a
DO
hinder.
go and get the male DO
So
to
do
help
you-
him fight.
Okay, so let me ask you this then,
Ooh-wee.
because I'll tell you from experience that if T was on near the car on a stop and I had a certain male with me, I'd probably tell the male to go get T.
Now,
Thank
but
you.
I'll tell you this, because of that incident. Now, mind you, when I got hired to do that, I was only 19, 20 years old. I was a baby, but I had done all my training. I knew what I was doing, and I wasn't afraid to fight by any means. So because of that, I spent a lot of time proving myself. Every fight, everything we had, I had to prove myself to be capable of doing exactly what the men could do.
Okay.
I
I think that's a fair assumption to take.
I think it's different. Okay, so for me, my size and my athleticism. So I
but,
think it's a little different for me.
But you and I know females on our department that will kick the shit out of some people that are way smaller than you. And that's part of, I guess that's why I'm asking, like, did somebody overtly say that? And I could see if somebody did that to me, go get so-and-so,
Yeah.
I would
think
take
that's what
offense to that.
started
I'd
it.
take exception to that.
But I think that is what started that in your mind. Because I didn't have that issue prior. I thought, you need backup, I'm here.
right.
And so having that person do that to me made
Ooh, I
me
would've
have
been
to.
pissed.
I was. And
I
believe me,
would-
that officer knew about it later. I
Did
told
he?
him not to ever do that again.
Good.
You should have stood there and watched him get his ass kicked.
Oh.
Be like,
I'm not
"Look,
calling anybody for you.
you need
Deal with
help.
it.
You don't want
Let me know when you need help.
Yeah.
Your
You want
secretary's
me-
not here today.
Too bad you didn't ask for me because I'm right here.
So
Yeah, yeah.
So when you're
no.
now you've already got this, you're experiencing the signs and symptoms of acute stress. It's going to get to PTSD. What follows with that? Do you have depression, anger? Is there one greater than another?
For me now,
No, then what did you experience? I had a lot of anger. I still do. So I didn't really have depression or anything like that, but I had a lot of anger.
mine was more a little outrageous. Yeah, your wife. is looking
Peanut
at
Gallery's
you.
talking. Just ignore
Yeah,
her.
the wife is going, mm-hmm.
She's holding up a thumbs
My
down.
anger didn't come till later.
I had some depression. I'm not gonna lie.
I had major self-doubt. Major self-doubt,
Yes.
and the anger didn't come until later for me.
My anger came at home more with my kids and I used to be a very patient person. And all of a sudden, I was snapping at everything.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember my husband saying, you need to get into counseling. And I told him, give me a year. Let me see what I can do, on my own.
Because you
Gosh,
think you
stop-
can fix it.
Yeah, stop pushing me.
You're
Like, I don't need
smarter
a
than
counselor.
everyone else.
I
what I
don't need a
thought.
counselor.
I don't need a doctor.
I take back what I
That's
said
what I told him.
before.
Just give me the year. And then what I was telling you is year to date. So now March 25th, I have my second officer involved. And this time, I'm not doing the shooting. I have officers who don't realize that I'm the backdrop of their shooting.
Oh,
So I'm
crossfire there.
I'm being shot at
Yeah.
by my own people. While the suspect is trying to go, what he did is he was trying to go head on with me in a small trailer park. And so I was over as far as I could, and he was coming head on, and at the last minute, he swerves around me, and the officers start firing at him.
Oh God.
And I'm like, and I remember being in my
That's
patrol
like
car
the worst
ducking
fear.
down.
You have zero control.
Zero.
You don't know those motherfucking bullets are going.
And they're both rookies.
Oh,
Oh
makes
shit.
it even fucking worse.
So you know they're tunnel vision.
wait.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I remember, and we're in our car, and there's nowhere to go.
Rookie.
We've got a computer here.
No.
Shoot out at the OK
having
Corral.
having a moment by myself over here. Like
You traumatized T in that
T-
one.
T needs a drink. T needs a drink.
the ringing in my ears just turned up to 20. Yikes.
So now you're involved in your second critical incident.
Yeah. But I remember, I have to tell you this, I remember sitting down here, and I was yelling, no, I'm going to die by my own officers. I survived by the suspect,
Yeah.
and I'm going to get killed by my own people.
That's a
Life
mind fuck
sucks.
right there.
Yeah. So go ahead.
So now you have two critical incidents, both involving live fire. What occurs thereafter? Is this?
So this is where it really gets messed up.
Up until this,
because none of that
before was
none of
fucked.
that was messed up.
So this is where it gets messed up in my home life.
Oh, okay.
Before I knew stuff wasn't right, like I was afraid to leave my office. I had other sergeants who, thank goodness, I was close enough with that would kind of go out and do calls for me.
And then
And they knew that I was going through something.
Right.
But, I'd stand and do paperwork, which was not me, like me. I love to go out and play, be with my people.
fuck paperwork.
Exactly.
I like to do paperwork.
So, what?
No, go ahead. I was just on the move.
I don't remember where I was at.
You were afraid
You're
to
afraid
go
to
out.
leave the office.
Oh, yeah. So, no, now the second one happens. And as I am going to sleep for the first time, I'm going to sleep for the first time. All the dead bodies
Oh yeah.
are doing the flashing. And that's when I knew something was not right.
Yeah.
Like, that's when I truly was like, what the hell is going on? Every time you close your eyes, pop, 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 they're just flashing. Like, what's that book where you make drawings?
Oh, and then they're moving?
Yeah.
I don't
was
know
like,
what that's called. But
yeah, but you know what I mean.
Until then. Yeah.
A flip book?
Flip book.
Not flip. Anyway,
It's a
so
good thing we have
that's
Mike in the house.
every dead body, Auntie in the house. Every dead body was flashing, and couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Well, I shouldn't say I couldn't eat. Since I left the apartment, I've gained probably like tremendous amount.
That might be medicinal.
No,
It's
not
called the
medicinal.
munchies, right?
That was prior.
Oh, okay.
Prior, because I'm a anxious picker kind of thing, and that came with big time with my PTSD. That was one of the things where I was just.
So now during this time when you're going through all this, are you feeling less than a male at this point, or no? You just know you're fucked up because of the shooting. Is this where, when we talk about the gender roles and you trying to fight back, like, did you think I have to get back because if I was a man I'd be back or expected to be back?
Originally, on my first one, yes. And that's why I went back.
And the second one?
Second one, I just didn't give two shits. Honestly.
Because you were that fucked up.
I was that messed up that nothing in this department mattered anymore to me. I never wanted to see the road again. Never wanted to deal with any of it again. Not put a uniform on, nothing. I was done.
And what happens from there?
So my department sent me to WCPR,
West
which
Coast
is our
post?
West Coast, post trauma retreat. And I'll tell you, I fought that tooth and nails to begin with.
I was all for it personally.
Well,
No, I wasn't.
I was gonna say,
That's
no,
just
you
bullshit.
weren't.
We need a can of bullshit just to spray when somebody's bullshitting.
well, she'd tell me it's a week-long retreat.
It's impatient.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to
can't
bring your
leave.
weapon.
Therapy.
They
Yeah.
send you across the goddamn
Thank you.
state to like 400 miles away.
Yeah.
No weapon. Can't bring
Yeah.
nothing.
Can't drink.
Can't do nothing.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, you're not sending me some cuckoo house where I can't get out. No, not going.
You're in fucking San Francisco. You
Thank
live in
you.
Arizona.
I thought it was the cuckoo house. I was like, you guys are going to send me to the Cocoa Puff house. And so our victim lady who helped officers as well assured me it was a good place. So on her word, I went. And it was. It was amazing.
Friday, you don't want to leave, did you?
No.
No.
Because then you
'Cause
have
it
to
was
deal
safe
with reality.
there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm in safe land right now.
Yeah.
Going home, I had to use the tools they were giving me, and I did good for a little bit. And that was in, let me think, I went there in 2012. By 2015, my husband and I were having some huge marital issues.
Was this on the onset of the PTSD or separate?
No, it was.
It was all
It was, well, let's not say it was all me.
Well, you ask my spouse, it's all me.
Let's not say it was
Oh,
all.
it's definitely all you.
Yeah, you ask my kid, it's all dad.
Absolutely.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know what to
definitely
tell
all
you.
you.
Mom didn't do anything wrong.
But I think my husband, to be fair to him, he'd never dealt with this stuff before. All he knew was his wife was having some attitude issues, as we'll say it nicely. You know what I mean? Like there was a huge change in my behavior and my patience and my everything. And he was just like, "What a bitch."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Who you calling a bitch?"
That
You know?
28 days comes rather fast.
Yeah.
It's like every 5 days now.
That's messed up. Why is he got to talk about that on our session?
I don't even know what he's talking about. Fuck that guy.
Who invited the guy to the girl session?
I'm the facilitator.
Oh, that's right. Never
The
mind.
moderator. So how do you cope with it?
You know what? Well, we skipped a whole part.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Did you want to skip it?
No. Well, I mean, I know you had some anger issues and there was some stuff there. If you want to graze over it, that's fine.
We'll graze.
Okay.
We'll graze. We'll graze to
just-
say the anger got so bad that I did some stupid stuff. I had never been suicidal prior. And the depression got so bad that I was just done with life, done with everything, and was ready to say screw it. And a lot of that was because, again, my husband didn't understand. I wasn't reaching out to anybody. No family, nothing.
I don't think anyone would have understood at that point,
No.
Probably not.
right?
Probably not. So I ended up trying to kill myself and ended up inpatient, a real inpatient facility.
Oh,
this
real
time.
cuckoo
Not
facility.
a retreat. Real
Okay.
cuckoo, Cocoa Puff.
This is where they give, okay, take the
Yeah.
little cup with medicine in it.
Exactly
with
what that
milk.
is, Yeah. Sucked. So I thought I'd be in and out because I voluntarily did this. Let
You
that
can't
be
just
noted.
check yourself out, can you?
No 48, 72 hour. No. I told the doctor, I said, hey, it's been my 48 hours. I'm ready to leave. That's what he said.
Oh.
He goes, that's not how it
And you
works."
tell a good story about when you would take our clients from the street in there and you would tell them, oh, you can check yourself out at any time.
Yeah. I always tell officers, I said, you remember how like we'd go to these suicidal calls and we're like, hey, voluntarily check yourself in. It's a 48-hour check-in and they're going to evaluate you and then you can go. You're free to leave after that. And so that's what I was going on. I got in there.
Those lies haunt you.
Yeah.
believe that
Absolutely.
shit.
I
You
believe
can't
that.
check out.
Yep. Never check out.
They're like, what's that funny white jacket over there for?
Yeah, for her.
You have that in my size?
Yeah, they sure did. Yeah, I truly thought that's how it worked because I've been telling those lies for how long. And so when I told the doctor, hey, my 48 hours is up, I'm out. He's like,
Yeah.
that's not how it works.
Because you know better than the doctors.
Just like that. That's not how it works. I was like,
So at this point, you've already tried to take your life. I mean, and you could go into that if you want. I know
No,
that
I'm good.
the other part is you'd done some dumb stuff out of anger,
Very much.
Right.
Dumb stuff.
and that came back to haunt you.
That did.
Now, were you self-medicating at the time, pretty heavily, or
No.
not at all?
I mean, drinks here and there, but nothing else. Now, prior to going into inpatient, I will tell you, and here's something that really pisses me off. Because I knew stuff just wasn't going right, and I could feel the depression getting worse and worse, I had called to make an appointment with a psychiatrist. I was 2 weeks out of getting that appointment because I had a 2 month. 2 months is how long they gave me the appointment.
You had to wait.
Yeah. I called and
yeah.
they're like, okay, we have something. And it was like May 27th or whatever. And I went in May, whatever, 13th. I don't remember. But it was one of those where I was 2 weeks out from getting medication that could have helped me. But because there's such a huge, apparently, waiting list to get in, I couldn't even get the medication I needed. And so it failed me there. And I ended up inpatient, being forced medication. In that little cup, you say.
Yeah, the little white cup.
Let me see.
Open your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're good.
I swallowed all of them.
Yeah, I got them all. Keep me doped up, all drowsy. So, yeah, so that's where that went.
And so you'd already had the plan, right? But something stopped you, and I think that's kind of important. What?
It's not
I'm
important.
not going to let you
It's
get
not-
off that easy.
It's not important. You find it funny.
What stopped you from completing the task of taking your life? And I'm not poking fun. And
You're
at the end of
poking
this, I'll say why I'm not poking fun. Because I can poke fun at a lot of stuff, but this is a serious, serious problem with us.
It is.
With officers taking their lives. But what stopped you?
Okay.
You had a plan in place.
I did. I had my beer, and I was sitting in my car drinking, and I wanted to go right back to 51st Avenue and Cactus where I believed it all happened. That's where it started. I truly felt, here's what I felt. I felt when he died, when that suspect died, it was like a cartoon where the little PTSD guy went and went right into me.
Oh.
That's what I truly felt happened that night. It was one of those where, oh, he's gone. Here's the other one.
Yeah.
And so it jumped into me. And I thought, this is where it all happened at. This is where it's all going to end. I'm done.
Wow.
And so I had hit that liquor store on the corner, grabbed my beer, started drinking, and I was in pretty good. And what I was doing is kind of timing traffic to see when I could get in there and stop my car and just shoot myself right there. And that was my
Wow.
plan. And a couple times, little did I know, I found out again later, the department had been watching me and had a perimeter all set up and had eyes on me. And so my
Wait,
husband,
right then?
yeah,
They were what?
Oh.
my husband knew, and they pinged my phone and found me. So they had set up a 6-block radius
Those
around
dirty
me.
bastards. They're good at what they do. They
They're
can find you.
Sneaky.
We'll find you.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, little did I know.
Not too good of a plan.
I didn't know, but so, and not like you're thinking,
Yeah.
oh, they're pinging my phone. So, anyways, little did I know, like, it was weird. I just, every once in a while, I'd put the gun to my head, and it was just feeling that barrel on your head. And my husband kept saying they would make him leave the room. And come
Because
to
they had
find
eyes
out,
on you, right? The undercover guys
yeah,
had eyes on you.
come to find out, every time I'd raise the barrel, they would make my husband get out of the room because they didn't
Oh.
want him to hear the clusterfuck on the radio of what was happening. So they'd come on, and then when everything was calmed again. So anyways, so back to what you were saying. So I'm sitting there and I'm drinking, and all of a sudden, I have to pee. Yeah,
Have to pee, bro.
I gotta pee.
Why do you think that way? Yeah, why not? Yeah, fuck it.
I will
It's
tell you
you
this.
gotta pee.
I will tell you this.
I don't want to die on an empty
Because-
bladder.
After this was all said and done, my own mom says to me, well, if you were going to blow your brains out, what's it matter if there was pee? And my sister goes, Mom! That's what my mom says.
It's
She
the
goes, what's
weird
it going to
shit.
matter?
Yeah, it's the
But it
weird
is.
shit you think about. I don't want to pee myself.
Well, you don't
God
want to be
forbid.
you don't want to be a hot mess up top and down below.
Yeah.
Like
I don't even know if
No.
it was one of those where I can't hold it anymore.
that's what it was.
That's what it was. And so
We think weird shit.
I decided, I called my sister who lived a mile away, and I said, is anybody at your house? She's like, no, I swear nobody's here. You can come here and pee. Cool. So my idea was I was going to go pee and come right back, right? That's in my mind. I'm going to go pee and I'm going to come
Well, you
right
had
back.
you had a good plan.
I did have a good plan. So I get to my sister's house, and as drunk as I am, I'm, the drunk pee. You're like, oh, it feels so
yeah.
good to pee. And next thing I know, my sisters are like, the cops are coming, let's go. And I'm being pulled off the toilet, And-
Air dry.
thrown into my baby sister's truck, and they just hauled me straight up to Flagstaff, where we have a cabin. And the UCs followed for a little bit until they figured out that, okay, they're taking her somewhere hopefully safe, and it's all together. And that night, apparently, my little sister stayed up and watched me flail around all night, I guess you could say. She says, I don't even know if you ever slept at all. Like, she goes, you were just...
Where'd your gun go?
So,
Do you remember?
I had to stay in the car. Yes, I do. Because when I got out to pee, someone got my car and took it.
Probably the undercover guys.
No, it was one of my family members.
Oh,
my
one of your
sisters,
family
one of my
members?
sisters. But we didn't even they were originally going to get back in my car. And they're like, no, we got to go different car. They know this car. So my sisters were like, oh.
They're helping you escape.
They're all criminal
I'm going to help you
minds. I
escape from
know.
the bad police.
Isn't that awesome?
Wow, that's like
good family right there.
That is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking out for you.
We
And
got Camp Verde. They got me like a Subway or something because they're like, you're drunk. You got to eat something.
Dang.
I need
Yeah.
some menudo to sober up.
No, my
That's like a
sisters. Yeah,
movie.
my sisters were right on it. So, and I'll tell you what was weird. And please make sure you're telling your family you love them on a normal basis, because here's the text I sent out to my entire family: I love you. That was it. My one sister said she shut her drawer, put her paperwork from work in it, shut her drawer, said, I got emergency, gotta go.
Yeah, my sister never says I love you. What a fucked up family.
Is that messed up?
That is a fucked up family. You're
That
not
is the
saying,
only
like,
text I sent. I love you.
Yeah, something's wrong. April said I love you.
Yep.
Holy shit.
She literally stood up, put her shit in the drawer. I gotta go, family emergency. And they were all like together within, and I was, what are you doing? What's going on? I was like, fuck this.
Just feeling lonely.
Yeah.
So
just
what
a-
about what you were going through at the time was causing you these intrusive thoughts to want to take your life? Were you not sleeping? Was it replaying in your mind? What was it that was causing you to want to leave this plane of existence to not deal
everything.
with it?
I couldn't get anything under control. You know, we're control freaks.
Yeah.
Nothing was in control in my life. My kids, I couldn't even be around them that much because they were so loud. And it was so much noise in my head. My husband was ready for a divorce. He had had enough. And there came a point where I thought he was cheating. And I was like, the hell?
You're going to fix that problem.
Oh, yeah.
Everything was out of control.
Everything was out of control. And I
Yeah.
couldn't get anything. And I just thought, I'm done. I'm done with all this bullshit. I can't get it together. It's never going to come together.
Because that's the easy way, right? That's the
Yeah.
easy way. Choose
Exactly.
the easy path as opposed to keep digging yourself further and further in this hole and you just can't get out.
Well, because it's like trying to pick up fucking water that's spilled on the floor with your hands. You just don't have. There's not
didn't have the-
nothing there.
And I wasn't using my WCPR tools. I'd forgotten all about it.
Well, because you didn't have someone there. You didn't reach out. We
No.
don't. And at the time, when you look back, you think, who's going to understand what I'm going through?
Correct.
Who's going to understand that I'm hearing screams in my head? Who's going to understand that you're reliving all these loops? And
Got
and
to.
then trying to figure out
Calm
exactly,
down, Bam. Bam!
Yeah.
Calm down.
Bam!
Calm down. Pistol Bam!
Pistol Bam.
Trying to figure out, because there's no one. I mean, we had
Leprechaun.
people, right? I mean, you had people. You had people to reach out to, and you just didn't use the tools.
But even when I talked to other fellow officers, it wasn't like I was being able to talk about my issues. It was me listening to their issues.
Right.
Because again, they started coming.
Well,
you
yeah,
got
because
this?
then they realize, oh, you understand.
You understand.
Yeah.
But what they didn't understand is I was dealing with my own.
You got enough shit that you
Correct.
can't handle any more
Correct.
shit.
And like I said, my husband was just like, who the hell is this person?
Well, because we're fixers. When something goes wrong in your family, everybody calls you as
Think
a
about
police
moms.
officer. Yeah.
Think about moms in
and then
general.
moms, it's compounded with that because you're
yeah.
a fixer. As a mom, oh, where's my clothes? Oh, they're here. All these things. And then as a cop, you're even more of a fixer that way too. And now you can't even fix yourself.
As a mom, I think that would
Oh.
be a ton harder because no one can function without
Correct.
mom doing everything.
Correct.
So when mom's a mess,
That was the hardest part, because my job was always the middle person, the one that you're the cooker, you're the hold the baby, make everything okay,
yeah.
And don't get me wrong, my husband is great at helping, but that doesn't replace the mom role
No.
that I had.
No.
So when you crossed that, I mean, you were good with it? You were already good with going? Your kids, everything was okay? in
You know
your
what was
mind?
weird? It was a last minute thought. It wasn't something I had planned. What I wanted to do was, because again, my husband was ready to leave me. He said, basically, I'm done. This is BS. And so I had called my dad, and we have a cabin, I was telling you, up in Flagstaff, excuse me, up in Flagstaff. And I had called him and I said, hey, is anybody at the cabin? I just want to go up there for a weekend. And there was somebody there. And so my plan, I would never have done anything in my own family cabin. But my plan was just go stop the noises in my head.
Yeah.
Go to a place, it's out in the middle of the wood, woods, it's peace. And my kids were in different locations with friends or at camp. So I just was going to have that quiet time. And all of a sudden, I couldn't do it because someone was there.
And you had to pee.
And I had to pee.
Because God forbid you don't pee.
Oh, isn't that
the
funny?
bladder.
Yeah.
Thank
It's a
you,
weak bladder
bladder.
thing, I guess. So
Well, as I get older,
how do you
should've wore
get
pad.
how do you get to where you're at now? How many years out are you from your critical incident? From that so let's go to when you were ready to take your life. How many years out are you from
That was 2015.
16, 17, 18,
Four.
19, 4 years? I'm not good at math. That's why I'm a cop.
Wow.
So how do you get to where you're at now? How do you, because there's light at the end of the tunnel for
Work.
you put in the work,
You got to put in the work.
which is what?
And-
What is the work?
Well, I'll tell you. So while I was in this inpatient thing for 3 weeks, my husband put in some work. And he got a hold of pistol. And he got a hold of a place for my... the leprechaun singing. He got a hold of a place for a service dog for me.
Is that what you call your dog, a service dog?
Yeah, he's a service dog. He's so
French.
sweet.
He's a French boy.
Mine at least listens.
Yeah, I mean, he looks scared when he walks in. He looks paranoid.
Leave my dog alone.
My dog will kill your dog.
Your dog's mean. My dog's a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah, that and it's got a bright fluorescent vest, like it's a crossing guard or something. Every time I see that dog,
Why?
I mean, it's a good dog.
Oh,
Doesn't
thanks.
it? Yeah.
Thanks for the compliment.
You should feed it
After
more,
he's
though.
like ripped it apart, that dog looks scared.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I'm putting in the work. I got on medication, forced at first. Got to pistol, started getting my dog trained, which kept my attention off of other things.
Good.
My husband and I got into marital counseling, and I'll tell you what I learned in inpatient. While they didn't have anything specific for PTSD, they weren't a facility that was like the VA and stuff where, you know, they have stuff for just PTSD. They didn't have any clue what to do with somebody for PTSD.
They
And
still
it was,
don't.
They don't. And I'll tell you what was so bad, and it made me so mad, is they have to do their nightly checks. Well, there's nothing like every, I don't know, it's 15 minutes, your door,
That
Oh.
motherfuckers are going to get shot. Fucking gun punch you in the
Exactly.
face for knocking me
and,
over.
and a dude walks in.
Ah!
And you're like, this is not how PTSD is supposed to be calmed down
You
here.
just set me off again.
Yeah, so try going back to bed. So they didn't have anything for that. And it was one of those where I finally I was talking to my counselor, and she says, you're right, we don't. But is there not other issues you can work on, like your marriage, your communication skills, your...
Were you like, bitch, I could barely work on myself. How the fuck am I going to work on
You know
something
what?
else?
What you mean?
I just,
mean?
because
I
I
know.
couldn't,
Bitch?
because I had such a hard
Bitch,
time.
please.
No, but I realized she was right. She was 100% right, because yes, I had PTSD. Yes, I was struggling, but I was struggling to communicate. I was struggling to be vulnerable with my own husband. I was struggling to be a wife. And so I needed to start learning how to open up to the one person that I should be telling everything to.
But see, that's where we struggle, because that's hard to do.
Correct.
If you're a fixer for how many years? 17 years, you know, and then your mom, you've taken care of the bills,
Correct.
you've taken care of the kids, and now you've got to take a step back and say, if for lack of a better term, you're weak in what you can do. Now you need everyone else to help you. We don't ask for help.
No.
And that's part of the problem that I had. Even when I struggle with how I treated my family, that gets me more emotional. You know, how you, because you don't know how to tell them you're afraid to go to sleep, or you're and that, because you think, man, they're going to look at you like you're not a protector anymore.
Correct.
And you were a protector for so long. And trying to be able to explain to people, and then when you go, you know, because where else in the world do people get introduced by their career, right? Hey, this
Yeah.
is John the plumber. Hey, John the plumber. You know, but us, we go, oh, this is fucking Mark, the fucking
Yeah.
the
Well,
police officer.
did-
And then what do you get? Hey, can you get me out of a fucking red light camera? No, I can't get you out of a fucking red light camera.
Did you feel like the protector in your family though? Because obviously you're a woman and you have a husband. Did you feel like the protector in your family because you were a cop? I have not.
He
actually.
looks mean, but he's a big teddy bear,
I have not.
No.
right?
You know what?
He looks like
Okay.
he'll kill you, but he's a
But my
lover.
husband used to like he's a 3rd-degree black belt. So it wasn't that I needed to be the big, oh my God, there's a noise, let me go check it out.
Right.
No, it wasn't like that.
And I didn't think it would be. That's why I asked you.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, we were pretty equal on it, because there'd be times he'd be in bed, he's like, oh, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Go
kill the burglar.
So I'd be like, I got it, I'm going. So it was definitely an equal. There was not one of us that were so much, oh, you do it, you're the. I mean, and I'll tell you, any of the fights we've had, like, not between ourselves, but with people, it's normally me that is the fighter, the instigator, and so my husband's like,
you're the one picking and prodding.
Yeah, so I'm more of the. But
oh, brand new tires. We'll fix those tires.
You're such a snitch. You're such a snitch.
Anyways,
such a snitch.
So I guess kind of coming to the wrap up. How did you deal with the gender part of it? During that time were you feeling weak because you felt that I got to be better than the men? Did that play in as you were healing? Did you come to the understanding that it affects men and women the exact same in law enforcement? Have you gotten to that point now?
Ooh, that's a lot of questions.
We have a lot of alcohol.
We do. No, you know what? For me, I don't know how like T feels, but I felt weak in general.
Well, I felt.
Well, I forgot all about the woman thing a long time in this story after everything that you've talked about.
But I think that's poignant because it doesn't matter. I know it does to women. I understand that.
In the beginning, I think it would be important, but after all that bullshit, I think you forget the woman part of it.
Because you're
gets lost in all of it.
Just like I am.
Correct.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I mean,
it's not a woman thing anymore.
No, it's not. It starts out,
it's
you
a human
feel
thing.
like it is.
Correct.
And then over time, you're like, it's not. Because you do see it. You do see that, the men have this, and it doesn't make me any weaker than the man.
Correct. No, 100%.
Yeah.
But I think, like I've told people before, it's a mindset. You can give up. You can say, I'm not going to go any further. I'm not going to do these things, or I'm going to take my life. Correct. Or I'm going to run away and hide. Like, I'm just going to leave. That was part of what my thing was. Like, my family doesn't deserve me anymore. Right? And gender, by that time, is gone.
Yeah. Way gone by that time.
You just know you're already not okay.
You're just
correct.
Fucked up.
I think that's kind of important to let everyone know that if you're struggling with that, even if you're not a cop, it's still a mindset. You can still reach out and ask for help. Because if you don't ask for help, right?
Correct.
Because if you don't ask for help, it was your sister that helped you that night.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're not picking up the phone, like I tell people, I'm like, that anchor, that 200-pound anchor that we call a phone, where you're like, who can I call right now because I'm struggling? I couldn't even look over at my kids or my wife and ask for help. And it was a few feet away. And I like to believe I have a good family network, but I always would think they don't understand.
right.
And even if they don't understand, at least give them the opportunity. They're big boys and girls, and they can tell you, that's beyond my pay grade. It's beyond the scope of what I can do. But sometimes it's as simple as just and between T and Mark and now April, it's something as simple as, hey, can we just grab a cigar? And we don't even have to talk about a critical incident. It's just feeling somewhat normal.
Correct.
And being able to just open up and tell that person, I'm not okay right now. Can you just sit next to me?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes even people will say, because I wasn't always like this big fucking asshole. Like I at one time had emotions, right?
In that gallery again, giving a thumbs down.
Nah, she's lying. I was a lovable, huggable type of guy.
Yeah.
But then you get so callous, and you're just like, fuck everybody. You cynical, and you're like, fuck them. They deserve to go to fucking prison for the rest of their lives. And that's not necessarily always the case. Yeah. And when you get that, it projects out to your family like that. Like, don't fuck around with him because he doesn't have that in him anymore. And that's how I felt. I didn't have anything left to give people because all the shitheads and all the people that I dealt with had taken that. And so when we get to this point,
it out of you.
When we're this far along, you start to build bonds with people and you realize, hey, I'm not as fucked up as I think I am, and it's salvageable.
That's the difference, is that you don't think it's salvageable at the time where you get to the point where you think that's your only option.
Correct.
But then now, like, it's silly to look back at it and think, oh my gosh, how stupid was that,
yeah,
right?
Definitely. I look back on that going, can you imagine having one of my best friends done that, and some other people I know, I look back and you're like, if they only knew the trauma they have caused their family.
Right.
That breaks my heart. And that's just not something, unfortunately, you think of at that time. Yeah.
It's not.
And, you know, they were like, oh, we had to get you to think about your kids. At that time, nothing was coming into my mind other than what I need to
because
stop.
you want to rest.
Correct.
You just want to rest.
That's why when you say it's giving up, I don't even think that that's the term that should be used, that you get to the point where you think that that's your only option. I don't think it's giving up. I think that it's your own. It's you don't see any way out of it. So it's not necessarily
nothing's going to get better.
Up. I don't like to say that somebody gave up and that's what they chose to do or that's what they thought was the answer.
Yeah.
Well, because I think every single one of us, having been down this road, know people personally, even more recently, who have taken their lives. You know, and that's one of the things that we don't want to happen, because it does get better.
Correct.
It just takes a lot of hard work.
Time
a lot of communication.
Time.
Right?
And
A lot of communication.
Communication, and you have to advocate for yourself. No one else is going to do it.
Well, they're damn sure not going to do it for us.
Correct.
You know, there's people out there that have foundations and charities for cancer and people struggling with this and that. And for us, we don't have that. We're expected to turn it off, and because we took an oath, we have a protective shield over us that's going to prevent us from seeing what is truly in front of us.
Correct.
You know, and there's people that, I remember one time this woman's bitching and complaining about the fucking price of gas, and I'm like, bitch, pay the fucking goddamn gas and go about your business. That's not the worst fucking thing in the world.
Right.
You know, and I've seen people outside of law enforcement actually survive something that some people would deem unsurvivable. And it's a mindset. And I think if we speak out, you know, I spoke with Idaho last week, and they just passed a law, and they actually listed it as PTSI. And I know Tanya and I have gone round and round, or Tia have gone.
Injury.
It's not.
Shut your face. It's an
you know
injury.
What? Here, I thought about this.
Thank you.
I think in the beginning,
you better
it's
be
an
on my
injury.
side right now.
I think in the beginning it's injury.
Okay.
In the beginning.
But I think
Shut up.
your injury turns into the D, if not treated.
Well,
because if it's an
Because
injury,
I
you're
think
going
if it's
to.
an injury.
I believe.
But that's why I think
believe that.
in the beginning it's an injury, and if you can get on it quick enough, and get the help, and get healed, just like anything else. But mind you, your mind is a different. It's much more difficult than just a broken bone.
Right.
So, but if you can get the help you need, you can heal the injury. But if you don't get that,
I believe that. 100%.
then it turns into your D.
Right.
So I'm gonna agree with both of you. How's that?
You're a happy
Kiss ass.
medium. Thank you,
I just
April.
agree
You're
with
taking
you
both
too.
sides.
I just agree with you too.
You can't take both sides.
But Peanut Gallery, would you agree with
No,
that? It
you
starts
can't
out
take
as an
both
I.
sides.
It's good.
I think it starts
win.
out as an
I
I
win.
and ends with a D.
Bullshit.
I think. Does that make sense? Yeah, no, I do.
Anyways,
Any hooser.
so I appreciate you coming out and
Thanks.
partially enjoying a cigar with us. You tried.
Oh, I did. I'm gonna try more off the pod because
Off the pod.
off the
Off the
pod, 'cause,
podcast.
I don't do so well,
So
but I drank good.
as we wrap this up, send us the comments, ask us questions, and just this will come out right before we have a fundraiser going on with California Pizza Kitchen, and it's March 25th, which is a Monday, and March 28th which is a Thursday in Arizona. All of the California Pizza Kitchens, if you go, 20% will be donated to Pistol.
Wonderful.
T and I, Mark, will be at some of those locations. Send us emails. At least stop by and say hi.
I won't be
And
there.
You
that's
might
where
be there.
that'll be the first place you'll be able to get these shirts. The pistol shirts.
Oh, that's right. You're saving them for that.
I'm saving them for the fundraiser first.
Yeah, Mark's gonna bring some books.
Right.
Headshot
Yeah.
books.
Well, he might actually serve you dinner. We might be able
He
to.
serves
Oh.
drinks.
Yeah, he serves drinks for sure.
Oh,
Good drinks.
Could do that.
So, in closing, this last week was rough for us. My home department had to respond to a Flagstaff officer who had taken his life. He was struggling with PTSD, And I contacted some of my buddies in Mesa who had to actually go in and sit with him until medical examiner got there. And Daniel Beckwith was a 5-year, I believe 5-year officer with Flagstaff PD. And that kind of struck me as difficult because what I saw was, and I think, April, you had alluded to it with, everybody leaves those comments. We got it from here, rest, and
Yeah,
I'm not
rest in
saying he did wrong, but if somebody's fucking struggling, say something. Fucking take them out and sit down with them and tell them it's not as shameful as you think it is.
Here's what I said. I saw a bunch of rest in peace comments. I saw prayers for your family, and it upset me.
Right.
And my comment was, it's so easy to write those on somebody's wall or, whatever it is, somebody's Facebook. But why is it not so easy to make a phone call and check on them? How hard would that have been?
Well, I think the response would have been fine because we say that.
But at least somebody called you.
Yeah.
At least somebody else out there realizes, because, this officer had been on admin since 2018.
Yeah.
So they knew he was struggling. It wasn't a surprise. So anybody, and so many people think, well, I don't really know him that well, or maybe he has another friend that's already talking to him, or maybe they just don't understand the struggle, or they understand the struggle too well, and they don't want to get involved in it.
Right.
But I said it would have been much simpler just to say, hey, I'm thinking about you.
Right.
Now we're writing rest in peace
Right.
Yeah.
on his...
And...
Correct. We can't do it for ourselves.
Well, because
Correct.
and T knows this all too well. That thin blue line is very thin when you're not in it anymore.
Correct.
And I saw that firsthand. I escorted Daniel back home to Flagstaff, and I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but there were only certain agencies that wanted to put those red and blues on to get them all the way back. And I was fortunate enough to have them on from the time we left the medical examiner all the way back to Flagstaff.
Good for you.
And I wasn't going to shut it off on him. And I know his father very well, and I wanted to make sure that his family didn't feel like he was tossed out. And
He had an injury.
He had an injury.
yeah, that was not an injury. And going, and Flagstaff's 100 and some miles from here. And, along the way we were picked up, DPS picked up, put their overheads on. And as we got closer into Coconino County, put on their lights for him. And we got him home. And it's still difficult just because I believe that probably would have been fixable, just like you, April. Many of us have contemplated that, and it was fixable.
Yeah.
And that's something that comes with shame and embarrassment. We have to put the word out there and let people know that it's okay to be struggling, and we're still human.
Correct.
Right? So with that being said, that's what the podcast is dedicated today for Daniel Beckwith.
Rest in peace, brother.
And, there's going to be more. I wish there wasn't. But if you do, remember you have the suicide hotline, you have Pistol, you have West Coast Post-Trauma Retreat, you have a bunch of other things and resources you can reach out. It's difficult. I know that phone is probably about 500 pounds, and it becomes about 1,000 when you're drinking, and people get further and further away even though they're next to you. But you have to trust in the fact that they're still there for you. You just have to tell them.
Yeah.
Right? You
Correct.
just have to communicate. So I appreciate you coming out.
Anytime.
And although we're done with the podcast, we're not done with St. Patrick's Day. And there's a handsome leprechaun here who's going to be pouring us drinks the rest of the night. And we may just go YouTube live and try to do it this time.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I don't know. So I appreciate it. And again, we'll see you next week. Next week's a nice surprise. So make sure you follow us. Reach out if you have to.